Good morning, Global 2. We're going to start a new unit on the Middle East. Today, we're going to learn about Israel. Perhaps you've heard of the country before. It usually pops up in the news. As with all classes, we'll start with the bell work. The question is, where is Israel? Take a second to answer this question. In today's lesson, we're going to discuss the formation of the country of Israel. Where did it start? Then we're going to identify the two conflicting groups that have problems with each other. Finally, we'll see how these two groups have moved towards peace. How was Israel created? Israel as a country was created in 1947 by the United Nations following the end of World War II and the Holocaust. Israel was created in the land of Palestine in the Middle East. There are two groups that had great conflict in this area: the Jewish people and the Palestinian people. If you look at this map, this is a map of present-day Israel. You can notice that Israel is made up of different parts. There's an area called the Gaza Strip. There's an area called the West Bank, and an area called Golan Heights. The countries that border Israel are Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. We'll discuss these countries at a later time. So why do the Jewish people and the Palestinians have conflict? Both groups claim to own the land that they both occupy. The Palestinian Arab people have lived there since the Roman Empire. So we're talking about anywhere between 200 BCE to 300 CE. The Jewish people claim that they have the right to return to the land because they lived in that area over 3,000 years ago, prior to the Palestinian Arabs. Israel, upon its formation, was involved in four major wars. The first war was the War for Independence. That war occurred in 1948. Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and Saudi Arabia invaded Israel upon its formation. They didn't want a country where Muslims were not the dominant religious group. So these Muslim-heavy countries invaded into Israel. Each time these countries invaded into Israel, Israel defeated them and added to its land. During the Cold War, Russia supported its neighboring country, Egypt, while the United States supported Israel. The Egyptian leaders during the Cold War wanted to end Western influence in the Middle East. So that's why they had conflict with Israel, who was being supported by the US. The Six-Day War involved Israel overrunning different sections of land and prompted a response from the 8 Arab countries surrounding Israel. And finally, the war on Yom Kippur occurred when Syria and Egypt launched an attack on Israel on the Jewish holy day of Yom Kippur. Israel won each of these four major conflicts. One other important thing to note during these conflicting times was in 1964, The Palestinian Liberation Organization was created to destroy Israel and win the right to rule for the Palestinians. This group was led by Yasser Arafat, who you can see in this picture. The PLO constantly attacks Israel during the majority of time that Israel exists. Now, because there has been so much conflict in the past 60 plus years, there have been many attempts to make peace. In 1978, the Camp David Accords were held by U.S. President Jimmy Carter. He met with the leaders of Egypt and Israel, and they signed a peace treaty in which Israel would return land to Egypt, and Egypt would promise not to attack Israel. In 1993 were the Oslo Peace Accords, in which direct talks were held between the PLO and Israel after the head of the Palestinian Liberation Organization denounced the use of terrorist attacks. In 2002, Israel military forces invaded Palestinian rule areas and arrested or assassinated many PLO members and leaders. The US, United Nations, European Union, and Russia created an outline for peace between the two groups.